Patrick makes me happy.
He's definitely a person who has such a big heart and cares for everyone.
He has a place in my heart.
He's there for me when I need him.
When Patrick was born, I had a really crazy feeling of familiarity to him. It was like I knew him, but I also had this dreaded feeling. And the feeling of dread was separateness. Because I knew that even though he was exactly as he was meant to be, our world perceived him as broken.
Patrick Foraker was born with Down syndrome in 1999. For the first 5 years of his life, he struggled through several medical complications.
Patrick, when he was born, needed open heart surgery at 9 weeks old right away. So we were concentrating on that. But truthfully, in the wee hours of the night, what I was Googling was Catholic education and kids with disabilities.
But for Patrick's mother, Beth, the search came to a screeching halt right before his 3rd birthday. Doctors delivered the news. Patrick had leukemia.
I collapsed to the floor, crying, sobbing, because I really felt they had given me a death sentence. And Patrick was patting my back and calming me down.
Patrick's loving, selfless act lit a fire in his mom. Beth continued her quest to send him to the same Catholic school as her other 2 children.
We proceeded to have over 3 years of treatment. August 2nd, 2005, he finished, and right at August 28th, he started kinder. First day of kindergarten.
Patrick was in. St. James School in Davis, California, opened its doors to a kid with Down syndrome. It was a first for the school and a first for the Diocese of Sacramento.
This is New York City. Started on.
Patrick's infectious spirit left a lasting first impression on his peers.
I remember in kindergarten, he was just a great friend.
Loving, kind, energetic.
I just remember seeing him as a normal person.
He just accepted you for who you were.
But the excitement quickly wore off. Beth, a credentialed teacher working for UC Davis, started to recognize a problem.
I had never had any weird feeling from the parents, but I had a definite feeling from the kindergarten teacher that she was super uncomfortable. Of course, I thought just getting through leukemia would be the hard thing, but now I realize school is going to be the hard thing.
Years before Patrick was born, Beth taught a student with Down syndrome as she fully included the little girl into her classroom.
So to me, it wasn't a crazy idea.
Through her own expertise, Beth realized it was time to hire an aide for Patrick.
If he had a teacher who understood fully including students with disabilities and knew how to handle that, I think he could have easily handled kindergarten with no aide.
The biggest challenge we faced was fear, and it wasn't the fear of the students, and it wasn't the fear of the parents. It was the fear of the teachers.
Along came Dave Perry, who was principal for the bulk of Patrick's days at St. James School.
I heard a student being given end of the year assessment, and so I stopped to listen, but I didn't look in the classroom. And I listened for a few minutes, and I hear the student reading, basically fluently as you expect a 2nd grader to read. And when the student finished, I peeked my head into the classroom, and I saw Patrick reading to Miss Bronk. And that was my first experience and my first moment where I realized that this really could work.
A battle with heart surgery, chemo, and cancer, all in his past, Patrick was able to develop and thrive as a student and classmate at a Catholic school.
The teacher showing me Patrick's G's and being really upset with his G's, and I was the opposite. I didn't know he could make a G. I didn't even know he knew what a G was.
That is, Patrick, your gerund.
After 9 years of practicing those G's and a whole lot more, Patrick not only has stellar handwriting,
your handwriting looks really nice,
but his education level has also been enriched with a wealth of knowledge far beyond expectation.
The 4th grade teacher, she was super proud of his work, and she pointed to me and she goes, "Beth, it's not about what he can't do, it's about what he can do." And she said, "Look." And I said, Thank you. Yes.
And I could see the tension kind of lift off a teacher's shoulders when Beth would say, all I want is for Patrick to have a chance, to have access, to be with his peers, and to grow as much as he can grow.
I miss you very much, and I love you.
My goals for all my students is to have this wonderful outdoor adventure and learn about nature and be with their classmates and bond at the first part of the year. So that was also my goal with Patrick that year, was to be able to have him included in every single aspect of Walker Creek, get to know other children from other Catholic schools. Every day was special for him. He participated in every single activity, loved the food, loved the dance at the we boogied at the barn, and he loved that. And more importantly, maybe, was the experience the other kids took home from that.
Instant penguin goats wood roads.
Okay, so I've stepped outside the classroom because the kids are working on what's called expert groups, and Patrick is very successful.
Catherine Baggerly videotapes a diary of her experiences with Patrick.
Well, Patrick is fully integrated within the classroom. He does exactly the same thing that the kids do. He's held to exactly the same standards and is responsible for transmitting exactly the same information. We don't need to adapt, we don't need to modify.
Baggerly, who's known Patrick since he was a baby, is also a St. James parent and teacher. When Patrick entered her St. James junior high class, she held his hand.
This is being Catholic. This is being universal. This is being everybody is made in God's likeness and image.
As Baggerly walked Patrick through his full inclusion journey, she realized she was getting a full education herself.
That is our job, is to recognize the divinity of each of these young people who come into our lives. And whether a child has a disability or not does not negate that divinity.
So why don't you write that down, and then we're going to listen to what she says about it, okay?
Sarah Barnes, one of Patrick's personal aides, joins in with a video diary, fully embracing inclusion and his quest to graduate with his peers.
And as I feel that it's relevant and important and something Patrick can use, then I'll say, okay, pencil down, let's listen to what Mrs. Baggerly is saying. And then so he then is forced to kind of have his foot in one space and in the other at the time. It didn't rock the world of all the kids when it took Patrick a little bit longer to process.
If he doesn't entirely understand how to do an assignment, I can help him understand it more and get him started.
Hey Patrick, I got these for you. He can read and write like me. He could talk. He reads at Mass when we have Masses. He's just like everyone else.
Patrick was surrounded by teachers and support staff who soon discovered he was just like all the other students, a kid.
Patrick, I feel, benefited from his aides, but also would have done just fine with the teachers we have here and the classroom aides that are built in, as well as a support teacher like myself.
It's not hard to be in the classroom with him. He's able to do his work, and we're able to do our work, and be able to talk, and it's nice having him in the classroom.
As fears diminished, the school community started to learn that full inclusion is a powerful tool. It strengthened a bond and enriched lives.
The day that St. James opened its doors to Patrick Foraker, it initiated a fundamental shift that not only changed Patrick's life and the Foraker's life, but it changed the life of all the educators in that school, and it created an opportunity for so many more families to know that Catholic education is possible.
Patrick became one of the most popular kids at St. James School. His student involvement amazed his friends.
He's one of my biggest inspirations. He's just one of the reasons why I smile every day.
His whole role in student council this year.
He brought a talent show.
Taco truck.
Taco truck.
Patrick actually made the taco truck come here, so I'm pretty impressed.
Like he said in his speech when he was running for student council, he was going to bring this taco truck, and I always knew that he would.
The taco truck is amazing looking.
How do you feel about yourself right now? very proud of myself.
But just like any other kid, school wasn't always easy. Sometimes Patrick struggled with his disability, especially during PE. But his peers were always willing to step in.
So I try to focus what I do around what he can and can't do.
Full inclusion for Patrick came with a hefty price tag for the Foraker family. But former Principal Dave Perry says Catholic schools should have their own teachers and aides with full inclusion knowledge already secured in the classroom.
The right thing to do is often the hardest thing to do. But it's at the core of our social justice mission as a Catholic church.
You're beautiful, you're made in the image and likeness of God, come to Mass, this is your home, this is your faith. And then when they're 5, you look at them and say, oh, I'm sorry, you're not quite good enough to go to our Catholic school. I mean, there's something wrong with that.
You know, how Catholic are we? Are we only Catholic until it gets expensive?
Beth's dream came true. On May 30th, 2014, Patrick Foraker was handed his St. James School diploma with honors.
This year's Outstanding Achievement and Effort Award goes to Patrick Foraker.
He also made history, being the first person with Down syndrome to graduate in the Sacramento Diocese.
Very emotional. It's a really emotional day. I have a friend who was just denied, her kindergartner was just denied in St. Louis the ability to go to a Catholic school. And to see what happened today, I just wish that diocese could see it and know what they did.
Beth Foraker's quest is not over. She launched the National Catholic Board on Full Inclusion, hoping to inspire other Catholic schools across the nation to follow in St. James School's footsteps.
I know this is my purpose.
I think everyone should be accepted, especially because our religion is so universal.
As one door closes, another opens. And for Patrick Foraker, it's picture perfect.
He is like the greatest example of how Jesus would want somebody to be on earth.
He was my teacher.
A huge part of the St. James community, and it's really made a difference.
Every day is a gift, and I learned that from him.
My name is Patrick, and this is me.